Oh, it says preparing. Okay, so it's that same screen before. It's like preparing to go live. So hopefully we'll make it the whole way. It's like watching the little man walk across the stream. Oh yeah, right. We're good. We're doing it. All right, success. Okay, here we go. We'll get official. It's a little bit of a backwards way about it. All right. All right, here we go. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mastermind, Body, and Spirit Show. I'm your host, Matt Belair. Today's guest became a registered nurse and worked in intensive care and home health for the duration of her over 20-year career. She then decided to explore other aspects of her healing profession and has trained in Reconnective healing and Dolores Cannon's Quantum Healing Hypnosis technique. Since Dolores' passing in October of 2014, she now travels the world to carry on her mother's legacy, as well as continue to teach the secret language of our bodies. She is the CEO of Ozark Mountain Publishing, as well as Quantum Healing Hypnosis Academy. She is also the host of the Metaphysical Hour radio show on BBS. Welcome back to the show, Julia Cannon.
Thank you so much, Matt. I'm so excited to be here again.
I know, it's great to see you. It's been about a year.
Yes, exactly. I was looking at that. It's like, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah, and we were discussing a little bit that we have similar paths. You know, I think you've been on the road a lot longer. You've been integrated into the metaphysical world. Your mother's work is extremely unique. I think it's beautiful that you carried on that legacy and that technique. I've experienced the quantum healing hypnosis before. Really, really cool experience. Why don't we just start with a little bit about your background, because people know who you are and you've been on the show before, but a little bit about that and then what you're working on now, because you're just continuing to create and receive all of this amazing information. So I'm curious what's happened in the last year.
Yeah, just a little bit about my background. Actually, the bio pretty much said it all. Registered nurse, and then just kind of shifted. You know, the universe just said, "You're done, go." And that happens to a lot of people. It just go. You're out of there. And I went kicking and screaming, and I don't know why. I mean, but that's resistance. I think that's the human nature of us. Sometimes, my case, it was, and and then I just went, and about years later, midway through the whole process of it, I finally realized what was going on, and I finally started accepting. And that was way into the process of helping my mother with all of the QHHT. I mean, I was well into it. By the time I finally realized what was happening, and then I was writing my book at that point. So, even then I was still resisting a lot of things. So, that's for those out there that do that. We're in that process while we're still learning, so that's just how we are. But anyway, we keep going. And that was all learning for me. That was all teaching me to what I'm doing now. I was being groomed the entire time to lecture, to teach, do everything. Because it's so funny. I think of it now. The whole public speaking. I just want people to know, this is just a funny thing. When I was in college, I actually did not get my bachelor's degree. I missed it by just a few hours because I had to take speech. I was so terrified of speaking in front of people. And so I wouldn't. I mean, in high school and in school, I would hyperventilate. I was so deathly afraid of speaking in front of people. And so I wouldn't do it. And so in college, when it came to speech, I was like, no, I just wouldn't take courses. And so that's what, they groomed me with Mom. And they just gradually just groomed me until and I could see it as it was being done. I'm like, oh, I get what you're doing. And so finally, I was gradually being put in front of bigger and bigger audiences with her. And then finally I was on my own. So here we are. So that's that part of it. And then, we're being taught to, it's being taught to teach. And then the baton was passed to me, and then we're carrying it on. And I say we because I feel like there is this whole group with me. Then we're taking it and teaching and carrying it throughout the world and continuing on the work of that, as well as the work that I was doing, the Soul Speak, and that's the work you're talking about with the language of our bodies. That was the book I wrote. And so that still has its place, and that's coming yet. And so that one just kind of got pushed over here, and it's a part of the courses that we do. It's got its little place in there, but it still has a bigger place of its own, because that's really powerful work on its own. And so it's coming still. And that's, all of these things are coming. All of these things have their places. And then plus those, we got the conferences that we're doing. And then now we've added another conference. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. That's coming up August 3rd to the 5th. We've added our Expanding Human Consciousness Expo. I mean, the title of that pretty much kind of tells you what's going on there. And that's what I'd like to talk about some today. It's not just the expo, but that, expanding human consciousness. So if we could do that, we could talk some about the conference, but that's what I'd like to talk about, because that's really what's happening. That's where my heart is now. So.
Yeah, please. I would love that. Well, I was just going to say, I think that it's interesting that, the process is, so many people will go through the biggest piece of resistance. Like, you don't want to speak, you don't want to do a certain thing. And then all of a sudden things starting to line up, and you just kind of have to accept or surrender or go in that direction. And that's a pretty common but terrifying fear, is public speaking. And the other challenge that you have is these big shoes to fill. It's just like, everybody has an idea of someone. And I've heard that before. It's like the worst to be like the son or daughter, because they have an expectation, and you need to come out and be your own person, but you respect the work and you think that it's great and you're carrying it forward. And I just think that you're doing it in a beautiful way in multiple facets. So I just want to personally say, I think you're doing a great job. And
thank you.
I'm curious about, because you're doing a lot of things. You have the publishing house, which is producing really great books. You're hosting a metaphysical radio show, which is awesome. And we kind of spoke at the beginning of, we're receiving all this incredible information. So I'm curious about, in the expanding consciousness realm, there's so much flying around. There's UFOs, disclosure, higher level beings. If you go to Sedona, it's like every single alien under the sun. You've got woke, you've got all these different things. So from your view, what are you experiencing, and how do you relate this to people that are saying waking up, and what useful tools can we give them, and understanding around what's happening here?
What can we say to them is breathe. First of all, just breathe. Second is, it's coming. Yeah, it's coming, and you're waking up. So that's a lot of it. Just relax. And that's what the breathe means. It's just relax. It's okay. You're not going crazy, because a lot of times that's what they think. And it's okay. It's perfectly normal. This is what's, it's all normal. The thing that, what we're seeing, what I'm seeing is, so many people are saying, oh my gosh, all these things are just crazy, and they're all this, all this doom and gloom and all this horrible stuff. And I don't see any of that. And that's what I was wanting to talk to you about, if you were seeing any of that. And because, for a long time I kept saying, it's like, we create our worlds. And I was always telling people, it's whatever you create. And I was saying, these things, it's not my world, not my world. And I kept saying that, it's not my world. And people go, oh, that you can't do that. That's not reality. You have to be aware, and you have to be aware. And I would just, not my world. And I would just say that. And, from the point of, it started with the elections, the presidential elections, when the debates were going on. I was actually in another country, and I came in just as the final debates, and all I knew is there were debates going on. I hadn't been following much of anything, but I came in and I knew there were debates, and the person I was with wanted to watch the debates. I'm like, okay, well, I'll watch them with you. And we sat down to watch, and the two candidates came on stage, and I was like, that's where we are. We're at that stage. I was like, and that's all we've got? those are our choices? That's it? I mean, I had missed the entire thing. I didn't know. And I was like, that's it? And so I thought, well, forget it. And I just turned it off. And then after that, I never saw anything. I mean, it was just like, it just wasn't in my realm to even view. It just wasn't there. It wasn't like I intentionally just, I mean, I don't have the TV on, but it was like anytime I was around where there were TVs or anything, it wasn't there. It wasn't on. And even today, I mean, I have yet to see anything of politics. It's not on. If I'm around TV, I mean, I'll be in a restaurant, if they have a television on, there might be cartoons on, or there's something else that is completely irrelevant to politics, or there's nothing about news. You know, it's not in my world. So see, it's things like that. It's like, it's not, and that's why I was wanting to talk to you about it. If something similar was going on, it's like almost like I'm not allowed to, maybe not allowed isn't the word, but it's like, it's not in my world. I kept saying it's not in my world, so it's really not in my world.
Yeah, well, I totally agree with you. I just had Marina Jacoby on, and she was talking about how she blew my mind, but it was, you know, how we're creating our realities in each and every moment, and that time isn't like this linear thing; it's a slit. So as you're in it, you recreate and redecide at each and every moment. And what I can say from a personal experience is that when I travel the world, a lot of people are like, oh, watch out for that place, or watch out for this, or, you know, what do you do when like somebody screams in your face? I was like, I haven't had that in like 13 years, because you're getting that feedback and what that resistance, if you're in a space right now that's challenging. I'll give you an example. I just talked to a really good friend of mine who left cars. And cars is like, the environment he was like, you're never good enough and you got to meet the deadline. And it's all about money and all this and that, right? Well, in that reality, he kept experiencing it, but now he made the choice to get out, and now he's redefining his reality. So the feedback loop of your experience will change. So if you're not enjoying the feedback loop that you're getting, and that's all we're getting, you know, Nassim Harameyn's work is this feedback loop of experience. So I'm on the same thing. And if I notice something that's like, oh, that's not great, if I can see a solution for it, I'll add to that. Say, if you're experiencing that, let me contribute to a solution from an empowered state. Like I can swim, I'm not sinking in it. So you can feel free to expand on that, but I'd be curious to get your thoughts on what's going on. Like, what's your perception of this, like awakening or moving into the new earth, or all of those terms? Because some people describe it as, you know, a new earth heaven, and you know, you're kind of like a different radio signal. At 40 FM, you got people murdering you and shooting at you with guns and depression and anxiety and all that kind of stuff. At 90 FM, you know, you have more peace, more harmony, collaboration, good friendships, good relationships, abundance, things like that. But where do you see the ceilings? Because when you look now, each and every year, the culture of aliens, paranormal, it's you know, chakras, tuning alignments, it's everywhere, but there's different levels of mastery. And it's kind of hard to kind of weave through now. It's getting more dense, you know, before there's a few people doing it. So what do you see as possible, like moving through there in the realms of expanding the consciousness and what we might experience? Because I think you've said openly, like there's beings or this higher level communication that you're open to. Back in the day, people would be like, oh, well, that's crazy, you know, but now it's more and more becoming common. But where's the quality of information coming through, and what's going to be useful for helping people either expand their own consciousness so they can live in this world that they create for themselves, that they find harmonious and fulfilling and loving? So that was a big ramble. So hopefully you can give some feedback on that.
Well, actually, you kind of gave it right there within your context. So I think really it is that it's that and all that. So it's whatever you create, because it is what you create, and it's all that we are and all that we want to be, because we are the creators. And the more that we realize that, that's the beauty of it. And that's what I am learning more and more and more as we keep realizing that. And even this week, I just even got more ahas on that. It's like, you know, we keep saying, yeah, we're the creators. But it's like, even like we have to, we get out of, we keep expanding it to higher and higher degrees. It's like we got to take these elements out that we have been limiting ourselves with. And those are those 3D elements that we've been used to, such as time, our beliefs of that it has to follow certain linear things, or certain any kinds of constructs that we have given things, like things, in order for things to happen, they must follow certain constructs. Okay, so when we're creating, well, then they have to go A, B, C, D. Well, who says it just can't go zap? Because we're energetic beings. And if we've been given, if that's where we come from, and if that's truly who we are and what we are, and that's really, once we understand and really know that as our being, then that's our ability. And so that's, I think, where our potential is. And that's it's a matter of the belief system here. And that's really what's constructing. It's all about the beliefs. So remember, it's all we've always said, whatever the mind believes, and that, but it's a matter of really believing. Because if you have any shred of doubt or any shred of anything, it won't do it. You have to truly believe. And I remember you saying last year that you can teach anyone how to do, it was something about these I'm trying to remember what you said. It was something about
the backflip example.
Yes. And I bet it has something to do with them believing it, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. That's a process. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And so see, all of that, it's always about, you have to believe and know that these things happen. So, but like you said, it's a process though. And so if we, and that's a belief there again, that they have to go through this process, because that's our construct now. So as we keep growing, I think we eventually start cutting those processes out, because we start realizing we don't need those. That's just what I see. It's like, as I start learning these things, it's like we start jumping, because we start realizing these abilities, and we just like, well, we have these, why do we have to go through them? We don't. We can just boom, so that's where I see that it's a matter of us claiming them. Once you realize you can do it, then it's a matter of claiming.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that too, because I'll give you an example of this person. I was at a wedding at Burning Man, and there was a guy talking about his older brother, and they obviously had a good relationship. And the best man was saying, I've always respected my brother, but he did something a few years ago that really impressed me. He was really stressed out about work, and he is an entrepreneur, and he looked at me and said, you know what? I'm never going to be stressed out again. And he said, since that day, I've never seen him stress out about anything ever since. And so what it reminds, and then I was like, oh my God, like you could just drop stress. You could just drop anxiety. You could just drop depression. But so what I would give back is like, how the heck do we do that? Because the way that I'm seeing this quantum or this awakening or this, right now we did the process. And so we have like the internet and cell phones, we're kind of communicating. And now with the internet, we've got the hive mind, right? And so it's kind of like this linear logical progression, but the quantum leap is going into a space that we didn't, all of a sudden it's kind of like 1 and 1 and then 6. You're like, oh my goodness. But what's happening in our world, in our 3D physical reality, it's giving us a little grasp on the capability. So it's just like, oh, well, how if you Google how to fix a flat tire, well, you could just actually tune into the awareness of knowing how to fix the flat tire and then do it. And that might be like how somebody receives a download or communicates with a being or whatever case. So that's kind of how I wrap my mind around it. And then I get curious if you have any strategies, for letting go, because that's the process, because we identify with our beliefs, right? And then they become self-fulfilling prophecies. And then what we do as we go through our reality is that we look for things that match up with those beliefs. To solidify them, to make sure we're adding brick and mortar, because then it becomes a nice strong belief, even if it doesn't serve us. So I like to try to figure out how to go towards what you're talking about, is just like, you know what, I can run a 3-minute mile, or I can jump off this. But the belief is a huge part of it. So maybe you can give some feedback on all of that.
Well, one thing is, and there again, yeah, it's like, does it serve you? So that's got to be a big part of it. Yeah, what are you getting from it? If it doesn't serve you, that's going to be hard to convince yourself to even do it in the first place. I mean, what does it matter if you can run the 3-minute? I don't know that I would care. So I'm sorry. That's not something that I mean, eventually I might need to, or I might want to. So that might be something I would want to. But there are a lot of things that you would, that you would go, okay, I want to do that. And so that's where I need to do that, or I want to do that. Whatever it is, just to prove to yourself maybe that you can do it, whatever. But the one thing to do is to see yourself already doing it already accomplished. And that's the biggest way to do it. And how many times have we heard that? But there again, it's just do it and just be so thankful. Oh my gosh, it was so wonderful. It was just fantastic. Isn't it wonderful how I did that? And really convince yourself that you did it. See yourself as doing it and just be thankful and so grateful. And oh my gosh, it was the best day. Oh yes, it was fantastic. God, it was great. I just accomplished it. And it was just so fantastic. The body, the mind does not know. It thinks you did it. But you have to believe it. You did it. You have to be convincing. And then you keep going through that. You do it, and then it does it. It's like, well, we already did it. Of course we can do it. See, and you see it as being done. And that's the same as when you start the day, you be thankful and grateful for what a wonderful day it was. Monday, oh, wasn't this, it was a fantastic day. I'm so thankful for all the wonderful people that were in my life today. It was such a wonderful Tuesday. Oh, I got everything accomplished that I set out to do and accomplished today. And it was fantastic. And I met the most wonderful people. These people all came into my life that I learned so much from, and I was able to give, and I was able to just whatever it was that you wanted. And then, or just whatever. And big things, be grateful, And then that sets this wonderful positive vibration going. And watch what starts happening to your days, just because you started a positive thing happening there. And then just watch what starts moving.
Yeah, I think that's a really amazing piece of advice. It's so practical, like how you start your day. That old saying where you wake up and you stub your toe and the whole day is terrible. Well, you're hitting on you're putting it in such a simple way that I want to emphasize the importance of how amazing it is and it works. So like, for example, the backflip, we probably spoke about this last time. I haven't snowboarded in like a year and a half, maybe 2. I could go do a backflip, as soon as I test out the jump within reason, I'm like, okay, I got it. Cause I know exactly what it feels like. Right. If you've never done one, it is going to be terrifying. You probably land on your head, and you got to get to the space where you believe you can land the backflip, but the actual execution is not that hard. You just need basic snowboard skill. But then the upside down part is the tricky part. So that same idea translates into manifesting and wellness and health and all of that kind of stuff. You have to be able to get to that belief space and that feeling space, so then you can activate the intelligence of your body. And the body is extremely intelligent. It's magical. It's energetic. You know all about this.
Yeah.
So I know that people would be upset if I didn't get to talk and ask a little bit about, the book, and either if you're going to be speaking on the conference and what you use, because I think that the way that you write about it is really beautiful. It talks about how the pain, right? Using the body as a communication device, right? Most people are like, oh, what's that? And then you just shuck it out, right? And you're not listening, you're not communicating, you're not trying to find understanding in this communication. And that perception alone, I think, is a huge shift. And then understanding, like you said, if you wake up and just realize that you can control your perception and you begin to do that, it's a huge shift. It will change. And so I wanted to see that question, and then maybe how you would apply these kind of ideas to people who are starting to wake up, because they're like, oh my God, like I can heal myself and control my reality, and wait, there could be possible more dimensions and beings. Like, where does this rabbit hole go? And some people will reach out to me and be like, okay, I woke up like a year ago and I went down 20 rabbit holes. Can you help? Because I'm not sure, I can't find my grounding anymore. And I'm like, okay, well, what did you hear here? I'm like, I don't know, man. There's so many infinite rabbit holes. This is what I got for that one. So maybe some general guidance and on those things. I loaded you up again, so feel free.
Okay. On the healing yourself, and that's the most wonderful thing is first realize that you can heal yourself, because that's what we've been taught all our lives that we cannot do. We have to give it to someone else. Oh, give your power away. Someone else is supposed to do that, and that's not even healing. That's supposed to, they're supposed to give you a pill to do whatever, but you can't do it. Oh, no. You're not allowed to do it. That's someone else's job to do whatever. I mean, give all your power away. Well, no, bring it back. It's your power. You are the one with responsibility to heal yourself. You can and you must. That is what they are saying. It's all you. And you can. It's very, very simple. And that's what all the aches and pains are about. They are messages from you, your higher self, and you telling you exactly what's going on. They're just messages. That's it. They're just trying to deliver something. As soon as you get the message, the pain will go away. It's that simple. And where the pain is what the message is about. It's real simple. And I know people go, well, it doesn't seem that simple, but once you start understanding it, it's very, very simple. And it's to me, that being the nursing background, like I say, it made logic. It was logical in a very illogical way. And so, but like, pain in the legs, anything having to do with the hips, legs, knees, feet, anything with those, they call those locomotors. That's their word. And they is your higher self. It's like their collective group. Okay. And so I refer to them as they. And that's why. But that's them communicating to you. But anything in that region it's something to do with your movement on your path. See? That's pretty simple. Now, it'll get more specific when it relates to you, but in general, it's something to do with movement on your path. It could be, or it's something to do with your path. It could be either you're moving in the wrong direction or you're not moving, you're stuck, you need to shift, you need to, it's something to do in like that, your path, okay? So that's pretty simple, right? But it's something to do with your path. So you kind of do things like that. So wherever it is, it's telling you something. And then it goes into much more specifics, and we could do more, but that's in general how it works. But to give you an idea. But see, as soon as you understand the message and you just ask it, like wherever it is what are you trying to tell me? What do you want me to know? And you'll hear it. You'll actually hear a message if you'll get quiet and still. You can actually hear it, or you'll get it from someone else. You'll get messages in different ways. There are a lot of different ways, but you will get the message. And as soon as you get the message and then you act on it, then there's no more need for the message to keep coming to you. The message has been delivered. So the pain goes away. See, that's how simple it is. Cured. Ah, that's it. It's just a miracle. It's like, miracle, miraculous recovery, and stuff. That's all it was. It was just a message. It's so beautiful. So that's that. Now, so is that enough on that? Yeah, that's real simplistically explaining it.
Yeah, no, it was good. And, I think it's just like this paradigm shift for some people, like you said at the beginning, that they don't take the responsibility for their own healing.
Yes.
So you look at it and then you start to communicate with the body. And the interesting thing that I kind of touched on briefly is that the body is like this multi-dimensional spaceship. It is the intelligence. Yes. You're not sitting there thinking about breathing your body or how you digest food and turn it into the body and all of the other amazing stuff. It's just like, oh no, stupid body, I'm the smart one. Meanwhile, your consciousness can only process like 5 to 8 bits of information at one time. So that's why I call it my dumb brain, because it can only focus on what's going on. I could be like thinking this great, amazing thought, and then a baseball flies at my face, and then I got to go the unconscious and everything else. Like, you know, now I got to concentrate on that. Or if I'm walking down the street and I'm in Maine, so black flies chasing me, I'm like, darn it. And I'm just swatting at it. And so I can only do the basic maneuvers, but you start to understand that this body has the intelligence, and what you're suggesting is the listening. Because I can hear some people like, oh my God, you know what I mean? I can't listen to my body. It's not that simple. But you never experienced, you never tried that process. You're not looking and giving the power back to your body. And there's many people that I've read and experienced through different workshops. I haven't been to one of yours yet, but Dr. Joe Dispenza, miraculous healing, belief repatterning, all these different things of just literally the idea was, okay, put the power back in, start to make a connection with myself and my body that I'm in, and with this nature power, God power, source power, being power, Bigfoot, I don't care what you want to call it.
Exactly.
Just those are the elements, right? Because then that becomes all you, and you're the one now taking responsibility. When you're like, okay, doctor, tell me what I got to do and what pill to take. That can assist, and it can be useful at times, but not to overstep your understanding of yourself. So I want to give that feedback. And then, so if you wanted to, I can't remember what I loaded up, but it was along the lines of like, you know, assisting people who are just going through life, and they maybe have pain, or they're maybe waking up, and how to find some grounding, and how to start to transition into this new understanding, because you're letting go of everything that you knew. It's different now, right?
Exactly.
One day hypnosis is crazy, and then the next day is like, you know what? Something to this thing, you know, and you're now open, but you usually like to dip your toes in a little bit before going all the way in. So maybe you can share some thoughts on that.
Right. Yeah. And you're talking about these rabbit holes and the grounding, and all of a sudden everything that they thought was crazy now isn't crazy, or maybe it's, you know, what I'd like to tell people is that you're just going to have to redefine normal there, you know, and it changes every day. So there really is no normal anymore. Let go of normal. In fact, let go of everything, because, you know, as soon as you try to hang on to something, that's going to force you to let go too. So it's like, you know, just learn to let go, period. Don't hang on to anything. And that's what they're trying to teach us, is let go. Just let go, and just be okay with that. They really want us to release all of our junk and our baggage and all of our, you know, just let it go and learn to be flexible. The more you can do that, the easier it will be as you are going through these changes and these shifts. And they won't feel so much like crazy rabbit holes. It'll just feel like you're releasing junk, and you'll feel so much lighter. As far as, but that's probably the best, as far as just, you just have new normals, you know, and you're not crazy. And know that you're not the only one out there going through this. There are so many people just like you going through this. And there have been many, many, many before you who have gone through this already. And you, as you allow yourself to do this, you are going to start attracting those around to you, or you'll be attracted to those that are very similar to you. That's a very natural process. Just allow that to happen. You won't realize that the people probably that are around you are just like you. It's just, they're not going to always let you know that right off the bat. Just like you, they are probably thinking the same things. So they're not right off the bat going to go, oh my gosh, yes, these are the things happening to me. It's just, you have to drop a few breadcrumbs, and then you will find out that that's happening to them as well. And you will see, but you'll know very quickly what's going on. And then you join shows like this. This is a great way to find, you know, like-minded people, or go to conferences like we're talking about. That's a wonderful way to find like-minded people. This is why these things are out here, is so people can get together and share notes and compare things so they can find one another. That's really it. But as far as the rabbit holes and how many are there and stuff, we are multidimensional beings, and we have a lot of things going on. And I don't be surprised with anything that happens, is what I like to say. And as soon as the things started happening to me, rather than be scared, because there is nothing to fear. Absolutely nothing to fear. It may feel scary because it's different. And that's our first reaction to anything that's different, is we get scared. But there's nothing to fear. These are our abilities. These are our natural abilities that are coming in. So what I like to say is, cool, what else? Just see what happens and just go with it. Just go with the flow and just start allowing. I'd like to see what you have to say on that, Matt. Share what you've experienced and what you've,
Yeah, well, what you're talking about made me think about Wayne Dyer. I think he wrote a whole book that says miracles are normal. Is that,
yes,
do you write a whole
absolutely,
book? Or is it, yeah,
yes.
Miracles are normal. And so that also goes on what you expect of your reality. You could look at a simple way in a relationship. You might expect to be abused if you had some sort of upbringing and that was just normal for you. And from another expectation, that would be craziness. And so we're moving into these realms that we're leaping so fast. It's exponential. There's exponential evolution happening right now, to the point where our consciousness is like on this rocket ship. And it's just like, there's no way that you're going to kind of understand what's going through. So the process of allowing and experiencing and being present and being conscious and letting go. And what you said about redefining normal, I think is really brilliant. And so I guess I was curious to, and I think that getting together is really important too. And that's why when I go to a conference or I go to festivals, it's very recharging. And, when I'm working, normally I'm by myself in a nook somewhere, and I'm like the weird person, because you can, use your own mind to like direct your reality. It's not, not everybody, you can control some of this, you can't control all of it, but you can intend and make different choices. So I think it's really important to come together. And, what I wanted to ask is, with the conference coming up, what are some of the speaker lineup that you have? Like, is there anybody that you're excited to see? Is there anything that you're particularly curious about? And what are your thoughts on just the art of expanding your consciousness as a process? If someone's out there like, I want to expand my consciousness, what kind of tools would you give them?
Okay. Our conference, we have Freddie Silva, he's like, oh my gosh, he's into the, exactly.
He's down the street from me. I reached out to him like a few months ago to come on the podcast. Yeah. I moved to Maine. Someone's like, I know Freddie Silva, you should have him on your podcast. And then he's like down the road. So I'm still trying to get him on, but tell him I said, what's up? It's this weird little circle thing going on.
Well, here, you can come to the conference and interview him there.
Yeah. He's amazing though, right? Like his Templars and he's amazing.
Yeah. All the ancient sites and sacred sites and all that fantastic research and the amazing research that he's done as far as how our consciousness, what we can do and all the things that they did and what we can do too. It's all that the mystery schools and all the thing. It's like the connection, from the old schools and everything. And this is what they did, who was us, way back then. And it's all the same things. It's like, well, this is what they did before. And these were all like portals in these different places. And he's found them and stuff. And he takes people on all these tours and so it's like, well, if they did it then, we can do it now. And so, hello, I want to know this stuff. So, yes. And then we have Blair Styra. Do you know Blair from New Zealand?
No, that's a new one for me.
Fantastic channel. He channels Tabash. He's from old. He's from, I think it's Syria. Anyway, oh my gosh, you just got to see this guy. He's probably better than anybody else I've seen channel. He is so good. And he gets up and interacts with the audience and does, as he's channeling, eyes open, and he interacts and does little readings for people and stuff and tells some things within the audience. And it's so wonderful. But he's always got this wonderful message for the earth and what's going on at the time on the planet. And and everything, and here's what's happening, and it's fantastic, always wonderful. We have them like every year because it's like a State of the Union kind of address. Here's where we are now. So he's fantastic. And we also have these two men from England, Barry Fitzgerald and Steve Mera, and they've been longtime researchers in the paranormal and UFO field, and they have now put together a UFO course, so that they've had a course out there. Now they've just upgraded it, and so they're rebranding it and putting it out there again. And it's the first time that the UFO, where they've been, you have all these UFO speakers and everything and these researchers, but they have combined UFO and metaphysics. And that's what their course is, and that's what their talks are all about, because they fully understand how the two combine, how the two have to rely on each other. And that's what's always been the case. You can't do UFOs for sure without understanding metaphysics. And that's what they've done. And so that's what they'll be doing. Plus they'll be doing a workshop on their course. So that's really, really excited about them. So, anyway,
yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm curious about that too. Well, I was just realizing as you're saying it, I'm going to be doing a conference at the same time. Well, not a conference, a one-day event, but I wish we could combine them. So maybe next year with a native elder of the Mi'kmaq, David Lombear Senepas, and a Zuni elder, Clifford Mahudi, who, when you were talking about the UFO things, Clifford goes around and contacting the desert and a little guy. They both have a 20,000 year history. They both talk about the star people, the star nations. I remember seeing Clifford at Contact in the Desert. I met him, and then I spent the summer last year in Sedona at my buddy Jason Styles' house. What up, Jay? And he has these crazy pyramids in his house, and like they're amazing, and they have like an energy field, and he's awesome. He's got to come on the podcast. But anyway, I digress. But I see Clifford there, and I was like, Clifford, like, what do you think of this? He's just like, he's just like, you guys know a little bit, but like, yeah, he's like, our history is 20,000 years old, and this is just normal stuff to them. The sky people, the sky nations. And I feel like that is part of what I would call the awakening or disclosure. And, some of it is spot on, probably. Some of it is probably nonsense. But the idea is that we're expanding at a rate. We don't know what's going on. And like, if you grow up in this little tiny box, then you start to look out. What people get afraid of just like, falling for anything. Just do research and then bring it in. Do research and then bring it in. But coming back to the point that you're the creator, and I was curious on what your thoughts are on the whole, because I know you're interviewing very interesting people. What are your thoughts on this disclosure thing and like beings and UFOs? And like, do you think they're going to come out and say hello and make it a little bit more obvious? And then the other one that's coming up in my world a lot is the hologram simulation. And just basically, okay, you're in a hologram, and that's what a lot of people have been suggesting to me. And I'm okay with that idea. I do feel like I'm in some sort of hologram because I've been to these spaces where it's so much more real than this. And when I'm in that space, I'm like, where am I when I'm down there? Because this feels a lot more real and expansive and legit. And then and it's like literally coming down like this ladder, and then I'm in this body again. I'm like, okay, can't take anything too seriously, and I have no idea what is happening. So maybe you could give some insight into that. It's not exactly a question, but you get the idea.
Okay. As far as people I've been talking to, so the first one was people I've been talking to and what they've been saying. I remember how that went. On their topics specifically, what you said there. On disclosure and everything. No, basically their take on that is no, there won't be any. There's probably it's just not going to happen. We have to do it each individually. It's not for the masses. It's not going to happen. It's an individual thing. By the ones that have been experiencers, that's been the message that they have received. It's not going to happen on a mass level. It's not how it works. Because that's just, if they're not going to do it, they're not going to land on the government lawn house. They're not, the White House lawn steps or anything like that. That doesn't serve anything. That's why they're coming to individuals. That's why people are waking up. That's why it's happening the way it is. That's what serves. It's an individual process. Then we each are choosing what we want to do with that information. And if we want to believe, if we don't, what we, it's that way. It's for a reason. That's disclosure. Then when we get to this certain point, then then we know. What they have told me is, they're there all the time. You know this. It's just a matter of, they said, well, this is where I start studying, because they try to speak through me. It's just a matter of having the eyes to see them. We are here. You just need the eyes to see us. And it's just that veil. It's just that dimension thing, and it's just, they're here all the time. And so it's just when we get to that point where we can see them. And so that's just a matter of, there again, it's that belief. When we get to that point of we know, then that it just disappears, and then we'll see them. So when that happens, because here we think, well, hey, I believe. But there's a lot of other things apparently that are in there as well that need to happen or whatever, when that point that it will be what's right for each one of us, that then that shifts and then we can see. But they've always said, we're right here, because they told me, so, we're ready to speak to those who are ready to speak to us. And they speak heart to heart, and they're right there all the time, ready to speak. And they're ready to be seen by those who are ready to see us. Okay, so that's all that is, and it's a personal thing. Now, the other one, I just completely forgot your other question, your other thing.
Well, I remember, and I was just going to go on that because I had some feedback.
Okay, good.
I've been hearing similar studying with David Lonebear, and what his upbringing was very different. And he said it's like vibrational, that it can be so slightly off that you can't see it. Like if it just vibrates at a little bit of a different frequency, you're not going to be able to see it. And this is a side note, but I saw the most hilarious shirt the other day that said, it was a picture of Sasquatch, and it said, world or hide and seek world champion. And that's kind of how I imagine it, is like, if there are these different beings and these things, there's a lot more here than we can perceive. We only get a very small part of the light spectrum, very small part of the sound spectrum. And so if we are awakening and we're growing, that makes sense that we will be able to receive a little bit more light. But you have to open to the idea that there is more first. And I really love that you said that disclosure is personal. And I think that that's right. It's not like, it shouldn't go there like you need to see UFOs or beings. Just like, what, if there is a higher intelligence and it wants to communicate with me in a benevolent way and create a relationship, let's do it. But if you're terrified of them and you think, all the reptilians are going to come get you and all that kind of stuff, that fear state, right? Like, let's say you were a bear and you were trying to talk to a human, but you couldn't speak the language, but you wanted to be friends with them. You can kind of slowly go over. But if you're going to run away screaming at the top of your lungs, it's like, I can't communicate with this thing because I keep trying to eat it. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that.
Very good analogy. Very good.
And so I wanted to just, the other thing I was going to say was the idea of the hologram, because it's been coming up, hologram or simulation, because in some of your mother's work, they talk about walk-ins. And it's like, okay, well, they're walking in. Where the heck are they coming from? It's like, walking in, and then I've read some of the books, like, wait a second. And so some of these people aren't real, and they're just like background people. What she calls the background people.
The backdrop.
Yeah. Just
right,
like,
I know.
Oh my God. But I was like, maybe, because we're not even really receiving what a reality is. That's why I was like, we got to get more into the body, into the present moment, into the feeling sense, so then we can receive more. So I'm just curious, because it goes along those lines. It starts to shape what we perceive as reality and like what's going on, what's possible. It's like, maybe there are angels with shields, maybe they're lower dimensional beings, but it's okay because they don't have that same power. We're more powerful. Gets a bit wild. So I'm just curious on hologram dimensional beings and that kind of thing, because some people, they'll ask me, they'll go, what about the archons? You got to get rid of the whole archons on the planet. I was like, you know what, as far as I'm concerned right now, there's probably archons and lower dimensional beings, just like there's a lion in in Africa, but I think I'm more powerful than those beings. And if I am confronted with one, I'll hold my own power and ask for help from benevolent beings. But I don't know. I've never interviewed either of them, so I'm not sure, but that's my perspective. But I think people can get really lost in the, like, I was there, oh my God, everyone's out to get me and it's gonna be terrible, and they're multidimensional shapeshifters and get crazy. So just,
yeah, not in my world.
there you go. Right.
What are you going to create? What do you want to create? Yeah. Okay. This goes back to, do you also remember in one of the Convoluted Universe books, I don't remember which one, there was a chapter called The Dreamer Dreams the Dream. Okay. And that's where it's like, which one is the reality? Is it this one or is it the other one? Because in that one, it's like, you know, it was like the other one was waking up from this one. It was like, this was the dream. This one, this life or this world was the dream to that existence, you know, and so it's like, which one is actually dreaming, you know? And that one was creating. It was when she would go to sleep, or whatever. It was this one that was the dream. And so then it's like, and it's like what you're saying, yeah, and that's kind of like what I was saying in the one where I was saying that the game board Earth, you know, that's what we've got here essentially. So if that's the case, well, then that kind of is what we've created a game. Then maybe that's what we've done, and we are somewhere else, and we're just moving our little game pieces around or something. I don't know. These are our avatars. I don't know. I think there's, like you said, you know, maybe it's like the farther we go, the more we don't know. You know, it's more rabbit holes, you know, and that's why more Convoluted Universe books kept coming out, and more will come out because we are getting more information. You know, more practitioners are out there, and they keep doing sessions, and they keep getting more information. And I intend to put more books out there with that information. So that will help maybe with more information like that.
Oh, I love that. Well, that's exciting. And, you know, what I'd like to share, I think is important, is because that work, like of your mom's, is mind blowing. And what I speak about is mind blowing to some people. What you speak about is mind blowing to some people, and other people are right into it and they're fine. And I think that she had an expression of I don't know if she called it like mind candy or something, like, right. It's just like, you don't have to believe it, but with each of these seeds, you know, that might not even, and we're not saying like, this is the truth. This is an idea, because what is for sure is that you and I have both been to the spaces where it's just like, you don't know anything at all. It's, you know, I say it's like, you know, maybe a bee's consciousness becoming human's consciousness, you know, or like a human becoming a dolphin. You're just like, it was just such a different experience. And like everything that you think you know isn't exactly that. So you become open to the idea. And I think we come back to those important points of, you're the creator, get in touch with the body. You create your reality. There's going to be some resistance until you learn what that resistance is, whether it's in the body or your external reality. That's an important piece. And I think the other one that I don't think is talked about enough is seeking understanding from the external, seeking understanding from your feedback loop. So if that's the guy yelling at you at the stoplight, if that's the person giving you a hard time in a relationship, if that's whatever, rather than trying to be, you know, if it's like right and left wing, like, you know, I talk about the politics sometimes is like how much people, because I'm Canadian, I come to the States, they just waste an absurd amount of time and they don't get anywhere and they're not seeking understanding. And I was like, yeah, if you use like 10% of that effort and like made a mandala piece of art, it would have been glorious and everybody could have like enjoyed it. Exactly. So, you know, if we can seek understanding, we're seeking understanding of ourselves in the feedback loop. Now, all of a sudden, we're really riding this wave, this game of reality, and making steps. You know, it's like, yeah, now we're moving. We're kind of like paddling towards the wave. I'm wondering does that analogy make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. And I was just thinking, as you started all that, what was coming to me was, make sure that they keep always talking about discernment and asking your own questions. So as you start moving in these things, because you were talking about, working through that with your environment and everything. And so at the same time, ask your own questions and make sure it resonates with you. So, don't just accept it because we say so, or just because a book says, yes, this is what it is. Research it and for yourself, ask your own questions. Does it feel like truth for you? Because it may be truth for us. It may feel right for us, but if it doesn't feel right for you, then it's not right for you. That's okay. It's perfectly okay. You keep going until you find what feels right for you. That's how this works. It's right for you at this time. Something else might be right for you at another time. That's how we move. And then, like you said, we take things from everything that's happening. I firmly believe that everything that happens, or, definitely things that get in your face, those are mirrors for us to learn from. They're brought into our face because they have something there for us to take. Like you're saying, it's something to teach us. And definitely, and those are probably the hardest things when they have conflicts, or they have, if there's high, what am I trying to say? A lot of emotion in them, because we want to get, high charged emotions, because we want to get all into that emotion. And if we don't, we don't realize that we got to stay a little more objective and realize, oh, wait a minute, there's something there for me. That's why this is here. And if I'll just pull back, maybe I can see how I relate, how it's relating to me or my life or something. But that's why it's been brought to you, is it's trying to show you your stuff. Actually, you brought it to you. You're trying to show you something that you need to work out. And that's why it's there. But a lot of times we get all caught up in those emotions, and we just want to, like you said, that's why we get all into that and charge it up and whatever. But it's just trying to show us, a lot of times it's an analogy for something we're going through. And it's just showing us how ridiculous it might be or whatever. It's like, okay, is that really what you want? And no, if it's not, okay, well then get over it, do something else. Make them on the line, whatever. So make it something constructive, do something, whatever. So yeah, and a lot of us, that's something else. This is what I think is happening in the human expanding, the consciousness expanding is, and see if what you're saying is too, is this is what's happening right now as we're expanding, is our stuff is coming up. And so if you've got a lot of things happening in your life, that's why. This stuff has to come up. You've got to clear it out as you grow. This is part of it. You can't expand and grow and carry your junk with you too. So, like you've got to drop it, you got to release it. So a lot of times, the only way you can do that is you've got to see it. You've got to, that's part, you got to pull it up and see it to let it go. So if you've got a bunch of junk coming up, that's why. You just got to look at it and see it and just let it go.
Yep. Yeah, I 100% agree. I have a, really specific example of a friend of mine. I don't want to mention him because he's going through the hard mirror thing, and he probably would never listen to this, but things are happening in his life and it's all falling around him, job and things like that. And people have tried to tell him the thing that he's doing that is, and he just so unreceptive to anything. So if
they usually are.
Yeah, right. And so if you can look at the challenges that are happening and don't resist them and seek understanding them, see, why are you upset with me? What did I do? Blah, blah, blah. Then you can learn and you grow. And it might not feel good, but that's the process of learning and growing. You make mistakes. And the other part is failure is a part of it. Failure is necessary. You have to fail. It's like a part of it. It's not a bad thing. So I was just curious if you could, I wanted to do two things before we wrap up, because I know you had about an hour, but one would be, if you can speak a little bit on how you would recommend, like just going through, and you touched on it a little bit, so you might've covered it, but challenges in our life, or illness or whatever, just resist something bad, techniques for going through something bad, or an addiction too. I think people are addicted to social media, drugs, all these different things. So tips for that. And then the other one is, I know I went live on Facebook or YouTube for the first time. We get a lot more comments, but there's a lot of QHHT fans, Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. and it's a whole world, and you kind of represent a good pillar of that. So maybe you can give a little message to those people and like what's coming through. And if somebody's curious about it, what they could expect by going through some of those processes.
Okay. I remember what you said now. Short-term memory here. Okay. The first one, okay, addictions and going through things bad. First of all, let's look at how you look at those things. They're experiences. Okay, they're experiences. That's it. Let's reframe just how you're looking at them. They are experiences for whatever it is you are wanting to learn. Addictions those are usually things that they're ways that you have found to escape. That's all an addiction is. You're just trying to escape your reality. So we would want to look at what it is you're trying to escape and why. And that's really it. That's the bottom line of it. So what's going on that you're trying to escape? And just ask yourself those questions.
That's really good. You know, what I know too is like doing some of the stuff with doing peak performance kind of things. Mm-hmm. When people ask me a question, I give them just a simple answer. You know, that's because I know that there's all the other stuff, but there's like, you know, so I think that that's brilliant. So good. Amazing answer.
They just got to ask themselves, you know, and that's where a lot of people want me to give them the answers. And I'm not usually, I want them to give themselves, they've got to ask themselves their questions, and it's for them to go inside and get their answers. So, because that's what they are always saying. Remember, they've got to take their power back. Don't ask me to do it for you. I'm not going to. I'm going to have you do it. If you ever come to me and want me to work with you, I'm going to make you do the work. You know, so yeah, I'm not going to do it for you. It's not that works. So, okay, and then the QHHT. All right, yeah, this is QHHT is phenomenal. Actually, you know, like I said, I was kicking and screaming and not even realize what I was doing. This has just absolutely been phenomenal what my mother created. How it's teaching people, again, how to help people to heal themselves and to receive their own answers. How to do this process of going inside and getting in touch with their higher selves to get their own answers. At first, they're doing it with assistance, but because they make that connection, then afterwards they can do it on their own. And isn't that beautiful? So you're helping others, you're empowering others to make that connection and get their own answers. And then they can also, they can get answers, and then they can get the instantaneous healing, because that's all. Healing is answers. That's it. You know, so once they understand how that process works, then that's, you know, you just go right there and just ask your own questions and you just do it. So QHHT, yeah, if you're interested in it, we have classes. We have the beginning. You learn everything you need to know about it. We have classes all the time online for the level 1, and that's at qhhtofficial.com. You just go there and you can see how the online classes work. We also have a live class coming up here in November. Actually, we don't have it listed on the site yet, but we're going to do that in Hawaii.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then we have different live classes coming up, and we have different levels, and that's where we're honing the skills, and we just keep working with you. You can actually make a career out of QHHT, so we will keep working with you if you want to do that. So it's for all different levels of experience, whatever you want to take it to. So it's really wonderful. And like I said, I'm really proud to be taking this on and now taking the baton and carrying my mother's legacy forward.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking that on, because I think that's important. And I've experienced a lot of modalities. I am if somebody has a modality, I'd do it. Like, just load me up. Let's see how this goes. And I think that the modality of hypnosis in general is extremely powerful. It's still not as popular as it should be. I teach it in my book, and I'm trying to teach it to kids. It's like, clear your mind. Program it. You can program this body. It's get programmed through the beliefs. It's like a computer, but you got to learn how to set the coding.
Yes.
That's what hypnosis does. So I'm grateful that you're continuing that work. I think it's important, and I think that everybody should experience that in hypnosis and some of these other modalities that teach you to change. My friend was talking to me today about meditation and like how he struggled. I was like, well, we're just set on taskless consciousness. We wake up and we're in the consciousness of completing task.
Right.
And we don't have time to be thinking about any other states of consciousness. We don't have time for meditation. We don't have time for listening to music. We don't have time for any of that. So we think that consciousness is the supreme consciousness, where that's consciousness is like, that's like you want that the least amount. And so hypnosis kind of forces you into this other state of consciousness. And now you realize there's more choice and there's more malleability. And if you start to believe that the taskless consciousness is so important, and it's always like so severe and dire, you got to get it done, and it's all this pressure, and it's all made up because that's the running system of that consciousness. So it provides an experience of a different state of consciousness. And once you're in it, then you have that experience, and it goes beyond words and talking about it. You're like, oh, I see. And so that's why I feel like it's such a powerful modality. And that's why I have a hypnosis chapter in my book, teach it to kids. It's like, it's not complicated. You just got to realize this. So
exactly.
Super
not
important.
Complicated at all. And this connects you with that part of you that knows everything and can do anything. And so when you've done that, then you know how to do that then in a conscious state. Oh my gosh, I mean, it is so powerful. And then when you've done that, that is life transforming. You will not be the same when you come out. It's like they say, you can't unlearn something once you've learned it. Once you've experienced that, you can't unexperience it. So it's just the way it is. So.
I love it. I even detected a little bit of a finger wag, because that's like that's the body and the emotion, because and I totally know it too. And that's what I'm trying to teach a lot of people when I do coaching or sessions. I was like, you just got to learn how to program yourself. You're the operating system. You get to choose whether it's like up, down, blue, green, muscles, endurance, passion, peace, ease, your job, but the whole world is just infinite options. So you get to plug in the ones that you want, and then you learn how to navigate the resistance, because everybody's got the hurdles. We're all jumping them, right? But failure and hurdles and challenges is a part of it, or else the game would be too easy.
Right.
Ferrari and best-selling, whatever crap you want, and then boom, there it is. It's no fun.
Exactly.
No fun in that.
Right. But now we're rewriting all of that. This is what we're learning. That's what I'm saying. That's what I started off with, is this is what I think that's where we're at now. That's where I feel like I'm at, is, wait a minute, if we can, now that we know this, we can rewrite this, how about we do this? Can we do this? Well, of course we can, because we wrote the whole thing. Boom. And that's where I'm at now. It's like, can we? So, yeah.
My friend Unity will say, she'll use the expression, think apple, apple appears. And I totally believe that is possible. And I'm keeping my mind open to it. I haven't done it yet, but when I do, I'll let you know. I am total belief of being able to levitate, fly, multidimensional spirit. I'm down with that. I 100% believe in aliens and beings we can't see. And I think they're right there. But we haven't learned how to tune in, like a dog whistle or something. I believe in that. And I think that the more we get into the alignment of, we can create a reality, and we don't need to go through a 40-step process. It can just happen. I'm totally in agreement with that. And what we're doing is we're learning to let go of all of the coding and the story that makes us believe otherwise. Because we have examples of spontaneous healing all the time, right? In your work and other work. So I'm really glad you brought that up. And that's me releasing this old programming of slow time, So,
processes and procedures.
Totally.
Because that's what we were taught.
Yep.
Reprogram.
Yes. Well, it's been a privilege and an honor to speak with you again. I'm so happy that you came back in the show and you reached out. I wish that I could come to your conference. It sounds amazing. So just like last time, is there anything that you wish that I had asked? If you want to talk about any rabbit holes or things you're curious about, we didn't touch on, you're more than welcome to elaborate as long as you wish.
Only thing is, we can just put out the websites that I can think of right now off the top of my head. Can do that real quick. Okay.
Yeah.
Our
course.
Plug those real quick. Let's see, the conference, that's our big one we want to do real quick, that's expandinghumanconsciousness.com. So it's just all those words out. It's a long domain name URL. We got it. Yeah. Okay. And then we have links to it from DoloresCannon.com and QHHTofficial.com. And then you'll get all the information on it there and then take the tickets. Okay. And then we have the OzarkMT.com is a publishing warehouse. It's a publishing company. And like you said, wonderful, wonderful books for helping you. If you're waking up, there's wonderful books. We have bridge books. I like to call them bridge books. So they're ones for helping you with this if you're starting. And then they also have the deep books for the deep end of the pool. So as you keep going, so it's anywhere where you are in the whole growth period, whole growth episodes. And then let's see. So I've given the QHHT, the expanding, and the Dolores Cannon and Ozark. My website is juliacannon.com. Let's see, is that all of our websites? Then we have our Facebook pages, and I think you probably linked to those. You probably talked about those.
I'll throw the links in the show notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Super.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then that's what I just so appreciate being on here again and being with you. And this has been wonderful. I really enjoyed it. I love being with everybody, and this has just been fantastic.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on and doing the work and, going through and like continuing that, because, it's a message and it's an ideology and it's a process and education. And it takes a lot of work to put a festival together, or a conference. Sorry, I'm in festival mode. I'm going to Burning Man. It takes a lot of work to run all these things. And so I appreciate you continuing that work, because I think it's important and you're changing a lot of lives. And just thank you for just doing it and being awesome.
Oh, well, thank you. And it's my honor. It really is. And it's so much fun because like I was saying, when these people come together, all that energy and that is fun. That's actually, it's work, but then it's so much pleasure because we all grow and expand when we're together. And so it's kind of whatever, what do you want to call that? It's self-fulfilling because it helps at the same time. So, there we go.
In general, it's a great time.
Absolutely. All the classes are like that too. When you come to a live class, oh my goodness, the energy is just fantastic.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. I 100% agree. I keep going, but I experienced like a Burning Man, and there's a power to getting together with good people. So if you're waking up and you want to get together with some good people, that's a great modality to enjoy, get around like-minded people and just figure out what's possible and just let go of the crap that doesn't serve you. Getting around people who are going to lift you up and not stuff you into a little box, just support you. And that's the kind of people I'm sure attend and look at this. So I'll have to make my way there one day.
Yeah. It'd be wonderful. Absolutely.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for coming on again. I appreciate you, and I appreciate everybody watching.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye-bye.